thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and I want to thank the professionals from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office that are here today to present to us. I was part of this presentation. They did this for the high school a couple months ago, and it's a really good presentation. It's meaningful information that we all need to take back and be mindful of.
So my name's Elena Campbell. I'm the Executive Director for the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm so excited to see all of you here this morning to take advantage of learning about this really important topic. And I have to thank Penny Schultz, who is our Orion Township Clerk, for suggesting that we put this together. And she was very instrumental in helping to put this together this morning. So thank you very much, Penny. She called me at the Chamber office and said, you know, I think this would be something that's very beneficial to the businesses in our community. And as well, we know very timely, too. So thank you very much. And thank you for Orion Township as well for hosting this here in this location, too. So we really appreciate that.
Bob, can you come up to Fire Chief Bob Smith? This job makes you very humble, as you can tell, and somebody else is going to have to screw up here to get pushed up here. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to recognize our elected leaders, the Chamber for hosting this, Supervisor Barnett for recognizing the needs of public safety, Township Trustee Mike Flood, our Clerk Penny Schultz, and also John Rambill with the Village of Orion. Appreciate everyone coming out. You know, we are seeing all these incidents like you are on the evening news. We recognize that incidents with mental health are definitely ramping up in our community, and we wanted you to see your public safety mechanism together, see all the leaders, see the mechanism. When you press that button for public safety, police, fire, we want you to see, you know, what's going to happen, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. Bob, you want to talk about some of the things that we did with the schools?
Well, one of the things the schools did right away that's helped us tremendously, and actually I'd like to point out before I allude to that, is GM's have been doing this for years, and and that's numbering of all their exits and everything. And the schools went around and they started and they numbered all of their exits, and they went in a clockwise way. So that's one of the simple things that makes it easier for us to respond. Like I say, with GM, they did it right from the beginning. So whenever we get a call, whether it's just a medical emergency or if something more serious, we've had fires over there and that, they tell us what door to go to, and it saves a lot of time. When you got 3 million square feet laying on the ground, we don't want to be coming in the northwest corner and it's in the southeast corner. So that's one of the things the schools have done. The other thing is that a lot of what we found out, Lieutenant and I found out when we went to these schools, was everybody thinks this is exotic. You know, that you got to do something really exotic to protect yourself and everything. So a lot of it is common sense, not tunnel vision, and be fluid in what you do and how you move around and stuff like this. Now, these gentlemen over here are going to talk about the active shooters, but this can go for anything. You know, whether it's a fire, whether it's an active shooter or a tornado hits this building and that. You can't do the same thing every time. You can't do you can't practice the same way every time. So that's the biggest thing you can take back from today, listening to what these gentlemen are going to say, what Lieutenant, myself, is to make sure that you always keep an open mind about how you're going to do things and not just get focused on one thing. Real quick example, you know, if somebody was having a heart attack down here right now, what do you think would be the easiest way for the emergency responders to come in here, to get to them? Would you think it was that door there? No, because there's stairs and everything. Actually, it's down at the other end. But yet, you people, if somebody comes down the hall right now, walking down the hall and says there's a fire in the building, because you all came in those two doors, where are you going to go? You're going to go right back that way, you know, where this would be the easiest way. So everything, you know, even the children, when they do their fire drills and stuff like that, we try to promote doing 2 or 3 different ways each and every time. So you people, we're just creatures of habit. You know, we come in that way, we want to go out that way. You know, we had one school principal that kept asking us, well, if the kids are out in the playground, should we send them to the woods? Should we send them to the woods? Well, if you train them to go to the woods every time, what if that shooter's coming from the woods? What are you going to do then? So that's just things that, you know, that we got along with the schools and that passed on as far as simple things. Don't be tunnel vision. See the big picture. Always know 2 or 3 different ways to maneuver around. And you know, when we turn the program over to them, they're going to talk about specifics. But that, all the time that they're talking about, think about that. Think about the 2 or 3 different ways that you're going to handle a situation. Okay?
The program this morning, we want to end about 5 minutes to 10. We want to stay on track. We have about 45 minutes with Steve Iannucci with Homeland Security and Lieutenant Larry Perry with Oakland County SWAT Team and Sergeant Russ Yiser. And then Dr. Lamar Gardner is going to follow up with a short 15-minute presentation on workplace violence. And the point is, we're all doing this to some extent, but what we want you to take away from this is we want to ramp up your situational awareness, you know, in everything you do, at home, when you're out on the roadways, your place of work. You know, you'll start, it becomes second nature.
I'm Steve Iannucci. I'm with Oakland County's Homeland Security. Been there just before 9/11. So it's been about 12 years so far. Before that, I had a career in law enforcement. I retired as one of those lowly lieutenants, but from Detroit Police. So after 28 years, I kind of thought I would get higher than that, but I guess I stayed at the low end. But again, Lieutenant.
Good morning. I am one of those lowly lieutenants from the Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office. I'm in my 21st year with the Sheriff's Office. I'm a homegrown product. I grew up right here. I graduated from Lake Orion High School. Went away to college. I got to play college football for a couple of years. Got injured, came home, and became part of the Sheriff's Office. Currently assigned to our Court Services Division, and we're responsible for the security at the Circuit Court, the 1200 building, as well as 8 district courts that we contract with. And I'm also the Assistant SWAT Team Leader for the Sheriff's SWAT Team, and I've been on the SWAT Team since 1999.
So as the lieutenant said, and actually the chief, that this is not just for active shooter. We want you to be aware for any type of incident that might happen. And it's a all hazards type planning scenario. So we don't want you just to, and everything is different. You know, like for instance, a fire drill. A fire drill, we teach the kids, and you grow up with it, that the alarm goes off and it's a drill. So the, you know, you slowly swagger down the hallway and out the door, and you go to a certain point outside. You have a routine. At work, if you had a fire drill, and we've watched them a number of times, that everybody grabs their coffee or their purse and they walk out the building and go to a certain point. An active shooter, you wouldn't do that. You want to get out, and get out the shortest and quickest way you can. So there's different scenarios, and you have to have that in your mind, that scenario preconditioned in your mind, so that it's not that you have to pull out a book or flip through the pages to find the right incident that's going on. You know what you're going to do. You have that preconditioning in your mind. So again, locally here, we have a lot of hazards, natural and man-made. And hopefully you've planned for a lot of those, not only to work, but also maybe at home with your families and your kids. You're prepared. You have a kit, have a plan. We have some documents out there that you can take with you if you need more information on that. To get more toward the active shooter part, and again, I want to stress that this is not just active shooter, but be conditioned for anything. But how many remember the Royal Oak Post Office incident? It's fresh in our mind, even though it happened 1991, over 20 years ago. It happened. It's fresh in our mind because it's something that we see on the news, and it's shocking to us, and it stays with us. But that was an active shooter situation. So this is not new. It just didn't happen. We've had active shooters all along, and we've had a lot of them. And I'm just picking out the Royal Oak Post Office. But it happened here. It happened in Oakland County. And it caused an incident. In fact, I don't know where my documentation is here. It's under here. It caused an incident where a disgruntled employee has a target, a focus, a supervisor that he's upset with, and he goes in and he shoots the supervisor. The problem is that there were innocent bystanders, the collateral damage, and that seems to be our issue. I mean, there's always going to be crime, there's always going to be the bad guy, and there's always going to be someone that gets hurt. But the collateral damage, it's just getting out of control. There's more people getting hurt now, the innocent bystanders, and for whatever the reason is, whether it's an explosion or it's an automatic assault weapon or whatever, what we need to do is minimize that collateral damage, minimize the amount of innocent bystanders that are getting hurt. So again, in an active shooter situation, they got to go in to get their focus or their target if they have one, and then they got to get out, and in the meantime, people are getting hurt. Columbine. Columbine was a school incident that completely changed the way law enforcement responds to an active shooter situation. Before, they used to go in, and in my day, we used to go in and form a perimeter so that the bad guy can't get out, and then we'd call SWAT or SRT, and they would respond. And we'd have to wait for them to respond and do their scenarios and don their garments and their bulletproof vests. Meanwhile, people were getting hurt inside that school until they get ready to go in. So things have changed now. Lieutenant's going to talk more of the current way that they respond to incidents because of Columbine. In Columbine, 13 kids were killed and 21 wounded. A lot of collateral damage. At the Royal Oak Post Office, 3 were killed and 6 were wounded. Columbine, I have an audio clip. I hope I can play it. And it's a clip of a teacher that was in the library. She has her students in there. You can hear the shotguns in the background coming closer. She's on the phone with dispatch, 911, and you can feel the stress and panic in her voice, but she's able to collect herself enough that she can give good, concise information to dispatch.
I just want you to stay in the line with me. We need to know what's going on. Okay. Okay? I am on the floor. Okay. You've got the kids there? And I've got every student in this library on the floor. You better stay on the floor. Is there any way you can lock the doors? Smoke is coming in from out there. I'm a little okay. The guard is right outside the library door. Okay? I don't think I'm going to go out there. Okay. You have to follow my... I got 3 kids. Okay. Why not? Okay? We're going to go to the door. The door. Okay? I've got the kids on the floor. I've got all the kids in my library office. We have paramedics, we have fire, and we have police on route.
You can hear that stress and the panic in her voice and the fear. But she was able to collect herself and give good information. And we don't want, what we're trying to accomplish with this is not to scare anybody and not to put fear in your hearts, but to make you aware so that you have that plan, that thought process, so you don't panic, you don't cower, you don't freeze, you take immediate action that you need. Whether it's with you yourself, or you and your family, or you're a teacher, or you're an employee or a supervisor, that you can take action, the proper action, because you've thought about it, you made plans, and take action that saves your life and whoever you're with lives. So. Again, we have to evolve because it seems like the incidents seem to evolve. So, and we have to be proactive with that. Okios University is another school incident, but the difference, it was a Christian private university. You would think things don't happen like that, you know. And I know it was in California, so you always say California, you know. But again, it was a Christian private university, and a student goes in there and he shoots a number of students and killed 7 and wounded 3 at that university. But again, he had disciplinary problems, known disciplinary problems. So at some point, we need to not only be able to respond to incidents, but we need to be a little bit proactive and maybe try to prevent these by taking some action or monitoring some action that we have known information about. And, you know, we even seen some of that's happening the last week, actually, with the explosion that happened, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The multiplex theater, current in our minds. It's in the news today. The guy's going through trial. A lot of these other locations that I talked about, he committed suicide. They committed suicide. The multiplex theater, he gave himself up. He got arrested and he's under trial now. But think about this. And like I said, this is not just for work. You're at a movie theater. It's midnight, the place is dark, you're out with your family, you got your kids, they got popcorn and candy and pop, and they're giggling because they're going to watch this movie that's just came out and they've been waiting for it forever. You never thought that you would have to be ducking down seats and dodging over chairs and trying to protect your kids. But you do have to do that today. It's a different world, and you have to be situationally aware of wherever you're at, you know, and you can't cower and hide. You have to take immediate action because you've walked into that movie theater and you knew where the exits are because you already pre-planned this as you walked in, or in a restaurant, if you just walked into a restaurant, as a lieutenant did in his scenario. So you have to take those motions today, not just law enforcement, not just fire, but everyone as a citizen today, because it's the type of the time we're living in right now. So, I'm not going to play this video, but Brooks Patterson himself got threatened at our campus in the executive office building off of Pontiac Lake and Telegraph there, and this was in August of last year. But we had a gentleman that threatened Brooks, and they ended up making his house, sheriff's made his house, and they ended up finding a cache of weapons that he was able to accomplish his threats. And he even had a meeting with Brooks the day after that they arrested him. So the threat came along, they made the house, arrested him, and then he had a meeting scheduled with Brooks that next day. So it happens, and it happens not only in New York or in someplace else, but it happens locally here too. Sikh Temple is a religious organization, and again at the Sikh Temple, which is in Wisconsin, 7 were killed, 4 were wounded, and 1 was a police officer. But it happened at a church. You're going to church on a Sunday morning or Saturday evening, whatever it was. You're not thinking that you're going to have to hide and duck bullets and whatever. But today, for the sake of you and your families, you have to think that way. Have that plan in it. The lieutenant mentioned about us giving this presentation at Lake Orion schools, and it was Oregon Mall. That happened a couple hours later after the school administrators left this seminar, and they turned on the radio going home, and they hear about the shooting at the Oregon Mall, 2 killed and 1 wounded. It happened in Happy Valley, Oregon. Happy Valley, Oregon. If it could happen in Happy Valley, it could happen anywhere, and we need to be prepared for that. And then, as the lieutenant said too, the next thing that happened was the Newtown shooting. And we're not going to go into that because that's been covered over the news and the papers and everything else. But again, think about this school incident. It changed the way law enforcement responds, because here they put things in place. The teachers and the administration had a plan. They had an active shooter plan, and they took actions, and they saved hundreds of students' lives. The thing that happened is that Adam Lanza goes in, the door's locked, but there's glass on the side of the door. So he shoots the glass on the side of the door, and he's able to gain entry, and he makes it to a couple classes where he ended up killing 26 people. But the other students, they weren't able to get to because they were locked down in place and whatever. But the idea was, that there were a plan in place. They saved a lot of lives, but there's still more to do. You still have to go back to your buildings, your workplace, or your home, or whatever it is, and see, where are my vulnerabilities? Where are my weaknesses? And make those changes. The smallest changes could be a big change. So you have to do that. What we're going to talk about today is some of the basic steps to take during an active shooter situation, but you can look at this as any type of situation, an explosion like what happened at down in Texas, or you know, any type of scenario. The Department of Homeland Security is pushing out the run, hide, fight, or evacuate, hide, or take action. And what that is first of all, you evacuate. If the threat is there, and we're going to talk about active shooters, so if you hear a pop, pop, bang, bang, and it's off in the distance, and you're in a big building, and you're on another corridor, and there's an exit door right there, and it's happening over there, you take action. You evacuate. You get out of there. You don't go check and see what's going on. You've already got this pre-programmed in your head. So you go to and you evacuate if you can evacuate. If you have responsibilities like children, or you're nurses or doctors in a hospital, or you have employees, take them with you. You know, but you get out. You evacuate first. And when you evacuate, law enforcement's going to be coming in. They're going to be going toward the shooter. So they don't know who the bad guy is. So they want to see your hands in the air and your fingers spread apart, so that they know you don't have anything in your hands that can harm them. And the lieutenant's going to get deeper into this. If you can't evacuate, then you have to hide. You have to shelter in place. You have to find a secure place in your building that you've already thought about this. You know, you have an idea of where you might go. Maybe you can lock the door, so you lock the door. You turn the lights off. You turn your cell phone off. You try to be quiet. Put things against the door, whether it's a copy machine or whether it's a table or whatever it is, something that secures that door. And then, like I said, you turn the lights off, turn sound down, so that you don't exist. That room is empty. If there's a glass window in that door, get off to the side. So if you're looking through that window, you can't see it. If you got other people with you, I don't care. Get them off to the side. Make it so that room is empty, and when that guy comes by, he's going to rattle the doorknob, and he's going to go on to the next one, because he's got a limited amount of time to do what he's going to do. All these incidents that we've talked about only took maybe 5-6 minutes at the most. So he's got a limited amount of time to get to do whatever he needs to do. So he's going to look for the easiest targets that he could find. Make yourself a hard target. Get out of the sight. Get away. Again, lock the door, hide, make sure that you can't be seen. If you can't evacuate and if you cannot hide, then you take action. In other words, you know he's coming in and you know that he's shooting, then you grab whatever you have. And we don't want no one to be heroes and no one to be aggressive. We want you to protect yourself. We don't want you to be a victim and cower and you know, type of thing. We want you to be aggressive. You grab a pencil, a scissors, a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher is a great tool. It can shoot foam to it, or you can hit them with it. See some of these women here. If any of your persons are like my wife's, I tell you what, that's a great weapon. And you use whatever you can, and you fight. And you fight for your life. If you have more than one person, somebody grabs the arms or knocks them down, knocks out the legs and knock them down. You be aggressive, and you knock them down until you can get away. So, Lieutenant.
Thank you. These are rapidly evolving incidents when they happen, these active shooter situations, and they're very high stress in nature. What we're hoping to accomplish with this simple concept, this run, hide, or fight, is to give you some kind of a game plan, a strategy that you can rehearse in your mind so that if something bad happens, you can instantaneously respond. Because in these kind of incidents, as Mr. Annucci said, they happen very quickly and they're over very quickly. Typically, national standards, information that we were able to obtain, they're over in 3 to 6 minutes. The average law enforcement response time nationally is 7. So whatever you can do in these initial stages of one of these incidents, one of these high-stress incidents, it dramatically increases your survivability of the incident. One of the things to remember is when these situations start, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to get an adrenaline dump. And what's going to happen is your heart rate's going to elevate, your breathing rate's going to elevate, your body's going to start pulling blood back to the center of your body to provide blood flow for your organs. You're going into survival mode. You're going to lose physical dexterity. You're going to lose your peripheral vision. You're all going to get narrowed. You're going to go into survival mode. So if you have something real easy that you can remember, run, hide, or fight, in that high-stress situation, you're going to be able to react. I've been on the SWAT team since 1999. Sergeant Yeiser's been on the SWAT team with me since 1999. Dr. Lamar Garner is one of our hostage negotiators with the SWAT team. Dr. Garner trains with us, and they can all validate what I'm going to tell you right now. We try to stress our guys as much as we can when we train. When we're qualifying with weapons, we make them run, we make them do push-ups, we make them do everything we can do to try to simulate that high-stress situation. 1,000 repetitions it takes for you to perfect something. This little checklist, if you say it to yourself every day, when you go back to your offices, you go back to your place of business, you look for the exits. You look, how am I going to get out of here? If something bad happens, what am I going to do? If my responsibilities are, if I have a big office, if my responsibilities are, I got to call 911 is the first thing I do, you're the most critical piece of the whole puzzle at your place of business. You have to be able to not hesitate. You have to be able to react, because your life can depend on it, and how you react to it can depend on it. As we come into the buildings, we're coming in to take the fight to the bad guy. Critical piece of information, Mr. Iannucci touched on it. If you're coming out of the building, some of these buildings are big. Where Mr. McDonald's at, several thousand employees are there. These active shooter scenarios or incidents are happening everywhere, everywhere. Courts, schools, businesses, restaurants. Years ago, we had an incident at a production facility over on the west side of the county in Wixom, the Ford Assembly. An active shooter scenario there where our SWAT team responded. We were there for several hours, huge place. You start dealing with the size of some of these buildings, and if you're hiding out in that building, you could be there for some time before we can get to you. These situations, as we're coming into the building, they're high stress. You're going to be amped up. The officers that are responding are going to be amped up. This is the guy you see at the gas station every day, or you see at the donut shop, or comes into your place of business to say, "Hey, how's everything going?" Or stops in your neighborhood and says, "Your flowers look great, Mrs. Smith." This is going to be the guy that's going to be responding to this incident in your community. It's going to be one of those guys you see every day. He's going to be coming in the door. He's going to be amped up. You're going to be amped up. It's a high-stress situation. What we need in law enforcement to see is I need to see your hands. I need to see your hands. I need to see your hands with your fingers extended and open. Not a cell phone in your hand. Not something that can be construed as a weapon. Because even though we might have had conversation, in that high-stress situation, I'm not going to recognize you. You're going to recognize the uniform. You might not recognize my face. But you're going to recognize the uniform. I need to see your hands. And why? Because in law enforcement, we're trained, this is what's going to kill us. This is what will kill me. I can have a gun sit here on the counter, loaded. That gun can sit there for 100 years, and it's not a threat to anybody. Round in the chamber, not a threat to anybody. The moment it gets put into a human hand, now it's a threat to me. That could be a pencil, that could be a hammer, a screwdriver, crochet needle. Anything that can be put into the human hand can be made into a weapon. That can kill me. That could hurt me. So as I'm coming into the building, I need to see your hands as you're coming out. I don't want you to stop. If you know who the guy is as you're coming out, he'll be a coworker. It's Bill Smith. He's back in the back corner of the building. Keep moving. Because those guys are coming in. They're trying to get to the bad guy to take the fight to him. We're going to come in a layered response. Those initial responders are going to go into the building, try to isolate him, contain him, get him knocked down into an area of the building where he can't hurt anybody, and deal with him, and use deadly force if they have to take and stop the killings, to stop the shooting. As you're coming out, there's going to be other officers that are going to respond, and they're going to direct you over to an area where they can debrief you, kind of away from the incident. And that's when they'll get more pertinent information from you. The size of the subject, race, weight, if you know who he is, more detailed information. If he has weapons, what kind of weapons, things like that. But that's going to be in an area that they're going to get you out of harm's way, and they're going to start debriefing you. So they can get that information, get it to the dispatchers, and get it to the guys that are in the building trying to take the fight, the bad guy, and find him. Then there'll be another layer that'll come. There'll be additional officers that are responding. There'll be fire service, EMS personnel, and they're going to form an outer perimeter to try to keep family members away, people away. As information is disseminated, we'll get it out to the outer perimeter to take and say, okay, we're going to have a rally point over at the school or over at the police station or township offices. We need you all to go over there. We'll get information there, and as people come out and the process out, we'll get them over there to you so you can pick them up there, but we can't have you here. So we're going to kind of come in a layered response, and that's how it's going to happen in one of these situations. Once things are safe and secure, we'll get fire service and EMS guys in there, start dealing with the wounded people. Okay? But it's very, very important. I need to see your hands. In this day and age, everybody has cell phones, which is a good thing. If you're in one of these situations and you call 911, one thing I want you to remember, and after talking with our dispatchers, this is very important. You could be relaying information to that dispatcher, and the dispatcher is going, yeah, okay, thank you for calling. And they hang up on you. You can't take that personal. That's not like they don't want your information. After talking with them, now I understand that what just happened is thank you for calling. I already have this information. It's not the most current information that I have to get to the officers. Thanks for calling. That's all it means. I already have this information. You get into a plant like with where Mr. McDonald's at, you could have 1,000 people calling 911. So you could have the same information getting repeated over and over and over again. And that's all that means when you talk to 911. If they're kind of like that and they seem like they're kind of rude with you a little bit, they're not really being rude. They're just saying, I already have this information. Thanks for calling. One thing to remember. When you call 911, there's certain pieces of information that we're going to need to know as responding officers. They're tall, height, medium height, short height. I don't need to know that they're 6'2". I don't need to know they weigh 240 pounds. Kind of heavy set, thin guy, whatever. My wife, I've been married to her for 24 years. I've been with her 26 years. She's 5 foot tall. I love her to death. I have 4 children with her. But anybody who's taller than her is 7 foot tall. Okay? So that kind of information is not going to help me in one of these situations because I'm going to be looking for somebody 7 foot tall. I need to know if they're tall, medium, or short. If they're thin, heavy, whatever. If you can get a clothing description, that's great. I need to know if they're white, black, Hispanic. If we can get any of that information, that's great. I need to know if they have a long gun or short gun. That's what I need to know. I don't need to know he's got and in one of these high-stress situations, I said, I might not recognize you, you might not recognize me, you recognize the uniform because everything's so stressful. I don't need to know it's a Bushmaster 223 with an EOTech sight and he's got a front postscript on it. If you can do that in that kind of a high-stress situation, and I've been in over 200 call-outs, I'm going to tell you right now, you know more about a high-stress situation and what that weapon is than I do. Because all I need to know, if it's a long gun, that means he can engage me from a further distance. So my tactics have to change. If he has a short gun, that means I can get closer to him. And that's a critical piece of information that I need. I need to know if he has a backpack. If he's got a backpack, ammunition, he has more ammunition, maybe more guns, might have a change of clothes. The incident that happened out at Wixom. Disgruntled guy, shot the plant up, killed some people out there. We got into several gun exchanges with him. That plant's over 400 acres. Underground tunnels connecting all these buildings, over millions of square feet under roof. It was a big deal. But after the situation was resolved and he gave himself up and we started searching the area, one of the things we found was that outside of the perimeter, he had a backpack with extra ammunition, change of clothes. So that whatever his description was in there, if he could have got outside the wire, he would have changed his clothes and been able to meld into the crowd that was there. So that's a critical piece of information if they have something like that, a backpack with them that we need to know. In these situations when you're taking cover or you're hiding, how many paramilitary people are here in the room? Do we have any? Then you'll know the difference between cover and concealment. The big thing that you need to understand is that cover is going to afford me protection from pistol or rifle rounds. That could be brick masonry, some kinds of steel. This, I can duck down behind it. You won't see me, I can't see you. It'll conceal me, but it's not going to provide me cover. is you can shoot through this, so that if you have to hide or if you're able to evacuate from a building, you want to seek cover from an active shooter scenario to try to give you some protection, not concealment. But if you're in a room and that's the only thing you have, you pull tables, you pull chairs, you pull copy machines, you get behind them, you get away from the doors, try to barricade the doors. You do the best you can with what you have. And if the shooter comes in, you have to fight. You have to fight for your life, because your life will depend on it. One of the things that I want you to be kind of proud of is that our county government, the leadership, Mr. Patterson, Sheriff Bouchard, have taken such proactive steps with things. This training came about way before any of this stuff was really, the recent stuff started happening, so we were ahead of the curve on that. Sheriff Bouchard, with the thing that happened with Virginia Tech when he put all the bolt cutters in the cars. The incident that happened in Mumbai, India, where the terrorists came and they had small squads and went all over the city, the old city of Bombay, and created all kinds of havoc all over the city and killed people. Sheriff Bouchard sat down and said, what happens if that happens in Oakland County? What are we going to do? So he got with all the chiefs of police within the county, pitched an idea to them about establishing a training consortium, which is in place now. It's called OAKTEC. We've been able to take and secure grant money through the Department of Homeland Security, Mr. Iannucci's office, with the help of Mr. Quisenberry, who's the head of that office, to take and train the officers in the county. We did that with, which we would call crowd control stuff, small squad tactics, to kind of be ready for the sit-in type things that happened over the last couple summers. Most recently, we're getting ready to, we just secured the money. We're going to go through, and the goal is to train, we trained 900 officers for small squad tactics. We're going to try to train 2,100 officers within the county for uniform active shooter response. So all of these agencies that belong to the OAKTEC and Training Consortium, we're going to train their officers and how to respond, a unified response, everybody doing things the exact same way to deal with this kind of a situation. So it doesn't matter if we have a shooting at the Orion plant, we could have officers from Clawson, from Troy, from Farmington Hills, from Wixom coming up to help us. We have a 40-man SWAT team, which is it was the largest SWAT team in the county, but 40 men isn't big enough to deal with 3 million square feet under one roof. Everybody's going to be trained the same way. It doesn't matter if it happens at a school, a major plant, a business, a stadium, whatever. We're going to train all the officers exactly the same way, so there's a unified response. And that's because of the people in our county that have the foresight to take a look out there and say, what do we need to do before it happens? That's one of the great things and strengths that we have about being in this county and having the leadership that we have right now. We're very lucky because they find ways for us to have the equipment and to get the training.
I'm going to jump in here and just add to what Lieutenant Perry is, the point he's on right now. This really is a team approach. I know Orion is the home of the Lone Ranger, and that may have worked well 30 years ago, but public safety today is how well we are working together, and all of you are part of it. You are that fourth circle, if you will, that presses that button to get us going. But by large, it's how well we are all working together. As you can see playing out in Boston and across the country, there's a lot of different agencies involved, and it's how quick and how responsive we are to those incidents. Over 80% of the costs of central dispatch are cell phones. We have 21 trunk lines. So even on injury accidents out there today, we are getting 3 or 4 phone calls. But it's like Lieutenant Perry was saying, we'll have 7, 8, or 9 call takers actually gleaning that information and sending it as they're taking it over to the dispatchers. But it's important to note that a lot of times when we get up in front of the neighborhood communities, groups, a lot of different groups, a lot of times we hear we're not really sure when to call the police, okay? And at times with some of our crimes, people say, well, you know what, we thought you guys were busy and we're really not sure. And the answer to that is just call us. Pick up the phone. If it looks suspicious to you, it's suspicious to us. We will prioritize what's going on, because here's the thought. With a central dispatch like that, we're getting pieces of information. And even in a large facility, that you may get one call at the end of the plant, and we may get another one at the other end of the plant. They have no idea that we're piecing these things together. We do the same thing in the neighborhoods. If you look at the incident that happened yesterday in Toronto, I think it was a mother that picked up on some suspicious activity. Correct me if I'm wrong, did you guys pick up on that last night? And that's where you come in. You are that fourth ring. When I started my career in Washington, D.C. in the early 1980s, we always talked about those three rings of security, and I think some of the security managers here, you know, the outside ring, the parking lots, the video cameras out there, your exterior doors, and then your interior doors. Well, today, everyone uses a fourth ring, and it's intelligence, and you are all part of that intelligence. Contacting the police when you see something suspicious, so we can put these things together. And we do it for small events, small crimes, large crimes, and obviously, you know, major incidents like, you know, these two individuals up in Canada that were planning to blow up a train, I believe. But it's just small, critical pieces of information that comes into us, and we can glean that and put it together. And that's really where we've gone, especially in the last 10 years with intelligence, and how well everybody is sharing these things and piecing these things together. We all live in these small communities, but the larger community is 1.2 million people in Oakland County. And that's really what it takes. It takes everybody working together to help solve, or more importantly, prevent, you know, some of these tragic incidents. And I didn't want to stop you, but I just wanted to step in at that point.
You're right on target. And one of the things I want you to understand is that if, you know, you can't run and get out of the building in this kind of a situation, you're hiding, and you have a cell phone, when it's safe for you to do so, if you're there for quite a while, we want you to stay in place. Okay, because what will happen is that as everything gets mitigated and neutralized and the building is deemed somewhat secure, we're going to search the entire building. It doesn't matter how big it is. We're going to search the entire building and check areas. But if you're hunkered down and you're hidden somewhere and it's safe for you to do so and you have a cell phone, it's okay to call 911 and say, hey, this is Sally Smith and I'm in room 413 over here, and I have 3 people with me, and I haven't heard anything for any while, but I'm here and I want you guys to know I'm here. Those same dispatchers are going to log that down, and as we have search teams going through the building, they're going to say, hey, you got 4 people in room 413. I want you to stay there. If it's locked or whatever, barricaded, the officers are going to come. What we'll do typically is we'll try to get master keys for all of this stuff. And if the door's locked, we're going to announce ourselves who we are, and we're going to have a key to come in. If not, we're going to be announcing who we are and maybe try to force our way in. So as you're prepared to go into fight mode, just remember that, okay? But these are situations and that in these high-stress situations, if you can keep things simple, real simple, so that you can react to them, because it's going to rapidly evolve. The Sandy Hook incident that happened with the shooter, that was Sheriff Bouchard had a debrief with the chief from Sandy Hook, from Newtown there. That incident was over in 4.5 minutes. Him going into the school, shooting it up, seeing law enforcement, getting into a short firefight with them, and then him killing himself. 4.5 minutes. So, like you said, these things are happening everywhere. When you go out to the movies, when you go to the grocery store, when you're at church with your family, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to know where the exits are. If something bad happens, I'm getting out of here. I'm taking my kids with me. The film you're going to watch here in a minute, my kids wanted to go at Christmas time. I have one that's a senior, sophomore, and a freshman. They're all in the high school. They wanted to go see the midnight showing of The Hobbit when it came out at Christmas time. Me, the SWAT guy, these movie theaters, they ain't going. Nope, not happening. My wife said, let them go, let them go. I said, all right, but we're going to do a show. And I sat down and I did this kind of a presentation with them and explained to them what can happen. I want you guys, if something bad happens, you guys are rallying up. You're getting out of there. You're outside. You're going to make sure all three of you are there. You're somewhere that's behind a brick or cover or a dumpster or something. You're going to call me. You're going to let me know what's going on so that I can get there to try to help you. My wife, they're watching the video you're going to watch. My wife says to me, Larry, what are you doing? You're going to scare them half to death. I said, you don't understand. I'm not raising victims. This is our future. I want to raise survivors. I want them to be able to respond to something like that and to be able to handle it and survive it. These kids are a lot more resilient than they want to give them credit for. They do fire drills, they do fire drills, they do fire drills. When was the last time somebody was killed by a fire in a school? 1970s? We do 2 lockdown drills for active shooter in the schools. What's more likely going to happen to them? So the more they know, the more they understand run, hide, or fight, the better off we're all going to be. Steve?
All right, and I know you're all talking about active shooters and this and that, so, but what about the last couple days? What do we do if there's an explosion or you know, the fertilizer plant goes off? Sometimes you can't stop the bad guy or you can't stop incidents, but you could have a plan and have preparedness. You could have a communications plan so you know that your kids who are in school and you're at work, you can have a common phone number that you would call out of the area so that you can communicate back and forth. You can have a common area where you would meet and that, you know, so that you can get together. You could have that plan so that at least it mitigates some of the problems. You can't stop everything, but you can mitigate some of the other problems that go on. You know, we talked about earlier that it was there's always the bad guys, but if we can do the prevention, and I know Dr. Gardner is going to talk a little bit about that, but if, you know, there's workplace violence policies, and I know Oakland County has one. They make us sign it, and they put it in your file so that if we did something wrong, they can pull it out and go, you signed it. But you know, those policies say, you know, can't carry a weapon on campus, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. But to take it a little bit farther, everybody has problems, and the ones that know those problems are either employees, fellow employees, co-workers, or whatever. So we need eyes and ears. We need people that who have some gut instinct about an incident that's going on, or somebody's made threats against a supervisor or a fellow employee or something or other, and you think that he could actually carry out that threat. Maybe he's saying he's buying weapons or buying ammo, or he's telling you, I'm going to give away personal items because I'm not going to need them anymore. Maybe something might be going on and he needs help. You know, so we need those extra eyes and ears, as was mentioned, to tell somebody, say something to somebody. You know, you guys, your closest people are the ones that know if they're having a drinking problem or going through a divorce or going through depression. So, and that extra step always helps. There were a couple things that went on, and you know, we always said that the government is pushing out now, see something, say something. But if you notice, just this last week, who called the police regarding the bomber that was in the boat? A citizen. You know, extra eyes and ears. You know, also back in New York when they had a bombing threat with the stroller or cart, there was a bomb in the cart. It was a observant vendor that was on the corner that kind of seen that there was something suspicious, and he called the police. So you guys, the employees, the citizens, need to be that extra set of eyes and ears, as was mentioned. We're going to show that video. It's going to kind of put all this together. It was put on by the Department of Homeland Security, I'm sorry, City of Houston Police Department, and endorsed by the Department of Homeland Security.
Just so you know, this is on YouTube, so that you can have your family members, people that you work for or work with, you can YouTube it, run, hide, or fight, and they can watch the same video.
It may feel like just another day at the office. But occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm them. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
All right, there's a lot more information. It's on FEMA's website or Department of Homeland Security's website, or there's even ready.gov that has a lot of information on there too. I guess Dr. Gardner.
We're going to get right into the some of the mental illness issues. I think that's we're seeing a big spike, a huge spike in that. We are doing commitments every day. We are doing mental health commitments, the same individuals 2 and 3 times a year, right here in our township. It's happening all over the place, and there's going to be some great tips right here on how to recognize it. But most importantly, contacting the police, getting the rest of your team there to help assess, the situation, documenting it, and getting a police report when needed. This is a team approach, and mental health is huge.
All right, very good. Thanks for having me out here today to present on workplace violence and making our work environment safe. One of the things I want to emphasize is what we're trying to do today is get you to run these questions through your head. What if? What if? Okay? Because it's that what if that prepares you to say, okay, I've got to make these adjustments, these arrangements, as opposed to if you don't do the what ifs, if you don't have the preparation, you're going to be saying, well, if only. If only I had done this, if only I had done that, this problem or this tragedy might not have happened. I know that with the incident in Boston, I'm finding out more and more about the FBI investigation and these guys, Russia giving information, okay? And somewhere along the way, and I'm not second guessing anybody, but those same federal agencies are probably asking themselves, if only we had done this, if only we had done that. Okay, so the question is a what if. The what if is what prepares you so that you don't have to say the if only afterward. This is usually a half-day presentation I do. I'm going to really try and truncate it. It's going to go fast. I've got some handouts. Pass those around. And read through this later on. Okay, what's the goal? Goal is preparation. To help you recognize subtle behavioral nuances of individuals under duress, prepare you and your employees and work environment for safety and protection and prevention from tragic situations that this is basically going to mean the difference between your life and death if it gets down to it, or active shooter. Training you to survive. Okay, it's impossible, virtually impossible to stop all violent acts. Okay. But we can eliminate or reduce employee exposure conditions that lead to injury or death from violence by implementing effective engineering control, administrative work practices, and risk assessment and intervention techniques. I was at a SWAT training several years ago, Michigan Tactical Officers Association put on. There was a South African training instructor came in. He said, this is phenomenal for me. You're standing at the verge of your awakenings. That's what you're here today. We're waking you up, preparing you, letting you know this stuff is real. It's not just happening on TV. It's happening in big cities and small cities, et cetera, et cetera. And once I'm awake and aware, then I can prepare. Most of the measures we take, small businesses, large businesses, even in our homes, for our security cameras, panic buttons, armed security officers, focus on risk assessment and pre-employment screening, safety training. In my home, for safety's sake, I've got an alarm system. I've got signs outside that say, guarding alarm. I put my shades down. I have my own weapon systems in the house, etc. We're seeing, when we're going to do drug raids with the Oakland County Sheriff's SWAT team, the drug dealers have cameras outside their house to see when we're coming to get them. Okay, so again, the bad guys, they have their own measures too, but we have to have these safety measures, again, in our businesses, in our homes, etc. I I still have neighbors who leave their doors unlocked, their garage doors open, okay? I'm thinking a bad guy is going to bypass my house just because he sees those signs about the alarm system and go to some soft or simple target. Soft targets, it was mentioned earlier. What's a soft target? Easy access, offers little resistance, not a threat of harm to the perpetrator. And what are our active shooters looking for, like Columbine or the Boston terrorists? A high body count. You know, we know as kids, when we're kids out there playing around and we see the anthills and we got the magnifying glass, the matches, etc. We're going for hundreds of thousands of body kill among the ants. This is a soft, easy target. What do we want? We want a hard target. We want to be a hard target. Difficult to access, willing to fight, a threat to the perpetrator, which if you can't see it, we've got hornets here, bees. Okay? A threat to the perpetrator. Encounter will likely end in injury or death to the person who comes to assault that beehive. But there's this psychological tendency to believe, well, it's not going to happen to me. Somebody will protect me. Okay, I'll be safe. But statistics suggest that eventually it can happen to anyone, even the most prepared. Even the most prepared. In 1999, I got a call. Doc, we need you down at the 9th Precinct. A gunman walked in the 9th Precinct, opened fire with a 10-22 Ruger and a 9mm. Okay, wreaked havoc inside that precinct. I'm stepping over spent bullet casings, blood, debris. Okay, fortunately, no officers were killed. Suspect was shot. But many of these officers in their sanctuary had their guns put away. They were in a class. They were in training classes on midnights. Guns put away, vests off, just relaxed. Condition white, we like to call it, and boom, this happens. Fast forward just a couple years ago, 6th Precinct, that was Gratian Gunston, 9th Precinct, 6th Precinct, Detroit, gunman walks in with a shotgun, opens fire, shoots and injures 3 officers. Fortunately, they survived. Okay, again, they're in their sanctuary. Guns are put away, vests are off, and they got literally caught with their pants down. They were an easy target, even though it was a police station. Southfield PD, a little bit harder target, raised, elevated desks, bullet-resistant glass there. Gunman walked in to do a suicide by cop, and again, fortunately, no officers were killed. But what are we talking about here? Vulnerabilities. Okay, vulnerabilities. Running the what-if scenarios through our head is what's going to help us prepare. And at any given moment, we are vulnerable. How do we get over this vulnerability? How do you get over this denial? Okay? It's our greatest enemy. You have to ask yourself, can I see myself as a victim? How is it going to make me feel? What am I going to say? What am I going to do, most importantly? And I need to take preparation or preparative measures. Greek saying here basically boils down to, if you wish for peace, prepare for war. Prepare for war. How do we do this? How do we avoid becoming victims? Well, we deter. Again, going back to my house with the signs that says Guardian Alarm, my alarm system. We have West Bloomfield police roll through my neighborhood every once in a while. Have alert, visible, armed security people at your site if you're working at a larger facility. Okay? That way you convince potential attackers they won't be successful in killing innocent targets if they come to your location. Again, going back to the soft target, a hard target. It's very easy to deter people, okay, by a show of security, by having locked doors, etc. To detect, one must be ever vigilant for clues. Virtually every attacker conducts extensive reconnaissance of their target. They'll analyze available ingress, egress points, check security, okay, etc., etc. Detect. I was walking over I went to a party store one day, and it was summertime, so I didn't have my large weapon. I had my 5-shot snub nose in my pocket, and the person behind the counter says, "Oh, you got a revolver there? Is that a semi-auto?" I'm like, how the hell did he know? Okay, well, he knows because he is visually aware of things that could be a potential threat for him. His life depends on his ability to identify, weapon systems or a threat. And just by the bulge in my pants, Okay? Well, that sounds weird. Caught myself after I said that. Oh, wait, anyway. Okay. He was able to identify that weapon. Wow. Well, there are cops out there, and we're trained to identify these things. I've had some amazing officers I work with. I said, he's got a gun in the crowd. Okay? And that's, you know, and 9 times out of 10, they're correct. So we want to be able to detect potentially threatening persons. There's a great video out there about hidden weapons. I don't have time to show it to you now, but basically, kid's got his, you know, clothes on, pants, shirt, and he systematically starts pulling about 13 different weapons from different positions that were concealed on him. Delay. Okay. Hard to target, security checkpoints, random security patrols, lockdown drills, okay, etc. Have doors locked from the inside. We can slow this person down so that we can get more people out. The after-action report from Virginia Tech, phenomenal study done by John Giddick, but he talked about the vulnerabilities. The people, most of the people killed, most of the victims at Virginia Tech were found dead sitting at their desks because they did not do anything. They just froze. The Holocaust survivor, 76-year-old gentleman, I forget his name, barricaded that door, held that door along with one of the school's wrestlers. Okay, that guy was ultimately, the instructor was ultimately killed, but in the process of holding that door, delaying that suspect from coming in, Cho, delaying him getting in, allowed for his class to escape, jump out the windows. Destroy. This goes back to the run, hide, fight. Okay, if attacked, you respond quickly and forcefully. In most incidents, the only chance available to save lives is a response with maximum violence on your part, okay? And with no intention of pulling back or giving up, literally fighting to the death. With regard to detection and the mental health issues that we see here, okay, people don't just snap, okay? I mean, you hear all the time, well, he just snapped. No, he doesn't just snap. A lot of bending takes place before that person snaps, loses it. Rapid assessment. We do this all the time, okay? Is this person a threat? What's going on? Rapid assessment. Look, listen, and test, okay? What saves me from getting hit by a car when I'm crossing the street? Stop, look, and listen. Okay? Look, listen, and test. I'm looking for things that are going to identify whether this person's potentially a threat to my life. Body language. Are they presenting with clenched fists? Are they looking around? Are they hypervigilant? Inappropriate facial expressions. I mean, I know when a person is angry and mean, you can see that on their face. Are they posturing? When a person, you know, blades their body sideways to me, drops their head to protect their neck, okay? Okay, now this means they're going to get ready to take a swing on me. Okay, something bad's going to happen if I don't de-escalate the situation or prepare for it. Psychomotor activity, the pacing, the wringing of the hands, the working himself, the rapid breathing, clenched teeth. Steve studied Italian, so the ballistic movements of the Italian is not necessarily a threat. The physical appearance. Is this person disheveled, sweating, burns to their fingertips, which suggests maybe what? Crack cocaine pipe, okay? Or the tar and nicotine around the fingers from chronic smoking, okay? Anxiety, stress. Etc. I talked about the hidden weapons. You know, it's summertime, they're wearing a long trench coat, maybe hiding a long weapon or shotgun. Listen. What am I listening for? Does this person make sense? Are they talking about something that is plausible? Do they have a legitimate gripe they're complaining about? Are they making threats? Is their speech organized or is it disorganized? Like they're intoxicated or psychotic or paranoid? Okay? Can they follow the conversation? So again, the look, the listen, and test. Are they going to respond to me as a police officer? Are they going to respond to you as a supervisor? Are they going to respond to you as a pastor? Okay? And we're talking about not just people from outside, because most workplace violence is precipitated or initiated by someone who works there. Okay? Your perpetrators can be employees. They can be the spouse of the employee who's going through a divorce and come in there to engage in some type of assault. Someone was talking about the Plymouth Township incident from many years back. Okay. Thought you'd come up here to snatch me off. Okay. Trained observer watching him. And again, are they going to react to their name? Are they going to follow simple commands? Say, calm down, sit down for me. Okay. Now this look, listen, and test can be done by the receptionist at your facility, can be done by peers, can be done by the supervisors, okay? And hopefully they're going to pass that information on to you. Well, we got somebody here in the lobby who wants to talk to you, but he's really agitated and pacing back and forth, and he's grumbling, and he's going to kick somebody's ass. Okay, well, that's good information. Additional clues: preoccupation with death or violence, as evidenced in their discussions, their stories, their locker, what's on there, the clothes they wear, tattoos, etc. Posters, drawings, collecting violent material, sudden changes in their attitude or appearance and social behavior, or when other people are starting to avoid them. Okay, something's wrong. Okay? History of violence is the best predictor of future violence. If this person has a history of violence, guess what? They're likely to engage in future violence. And that's one of the things we look for in pre-employment screenings. Now, on a psychological level, what leads a person to lose it, to snap? Okay, again, over time, the bending. Main factors: physiological needs are taken away, unmet needs. Physiological needs: food, water, clothing, shelter. Safety needs: protection against danger, threat, or deprivation. Social needs: belonging, association, acceptance, and friendship. Ego needs: self-esteem, status, recognition, appreciation, and self-actualization needs. If we look at Columbine, we got two kids, the trench coat mafia, they call themselves, supposedly been teased, harassed, bullied, outcast. Okay, so what are the needs that are being affected here? Well, if they're being bullied, their safety needs. Okay, outcast, their social needs. Okay, and what are they fighting for? This recognition. I want to have an identity. I want to go down as, you know, the big killers, et cetera, et cetera. Any situation where we see a person who goes into an emotional upheaval, we have to evaluate and assess what's being taken away from their lives. Go through a divorce. When a person goes through a divorce, the biggest precipitant of suicide in this country is divorce. 99% of our barricaded suicidal call-outs. My first question, you know, what's the status of their marriage? Oh, they're in the process of divorce, just got divorced, etc. In divorce, what's being affected here, usually in the male partner? Physiological needs: losing their home. Well, not so much safety needs. Social needs: access to their family, belonging, acceptance, friendship. Ego needs: their identity, okay, etc. So these are the things to keep in mind when you're dealing with somebody who might be going into an emotional upheaval. Real quickly, it goes through a system: harassment, threats, and then the attack. Okay? Attacks just don't happen unless they're terrorist type attacks, and even then there's some foretelling of what happens. If we've got a seesaw here, I use this all the time. On one side it's feelings and emotions, on the other side it's reasoning and judgment. For the most part, we're all balanced. Okay? But when some of our needs are removed, some things are threatened in our lives, okay, we start to go into an emotional upheaval. Okay? Anger, fear, anxiety, depression, okay, these start to escalate. When the emotions go up, what happens to the reasoning and judgment? It goes down. In all our brilliance, we go into an emotional upheaval and we do dumb things. Okay? Any emotion. Okay? Even love. I love that girl. Do we do dumb things? What was I thinking? You weren't thinking. You were letting your emotions drive you. You were letting your emotions drive you. Okay? So when we see, and here's one of the things you out there in your businesses are looking for, people, where are they at in this emotional upheaval? And as they start to escalate, what can I do to bring them back down to a balance? As a clinician, okay, as a crisis negotiator and hostage negotiator, the most important thing that I do is get people to emote, to talk about their feelings, okay, to talk it out so they don't act it out. And through the process of allowing them to talk or to vent, I get this, back down to a balance. While people want their say, they don't necessarily want their way. They don't have to go and become violent. So we've got this pop box, okay? And something happens, some major incident happens that shakes them up. It could be a critical incident, or it could be the slow, repetitive adjutants of the job that stress them out. Okay? What happens to the contents of this bottle? What builds up? Pressure. Pressure builds up. And one of the two things that can happen to this bottle under pressure? It can what? Explode. Have we seen people explode? Absolutely. Or what else can happen to the contents of the bottle over time? Huh? It settles down. No, over time it settles down because it's adjuvant. What happens to the contents? It can go flat. Have we seen people go flat, lose their give a damn? Okay. So if I hand the bottle over to Lieutenant Todd and say, do something with this, what are your options? Slowly through the mouth of the bottle. The employee who's under emotional distress and in emotional upheaval, supervisor says, hey, come on over here. Sit down, talk to me. What's going on? I want to help. Okay. How powerful that is. How powerful it is. The other thing I can do is take this bottle that's been agitated, shaken up. Hey, you need some time off. Why don't you go home today? Just go home and relax. I'm going to give you the day off. Or, hey, maybe you need some stress leave. Okay? And while you're taking that stress leave, I want you to call this person. I want you to go talk to your pastor. I want you to talk to our EAP, Employee Assistance Program. Now we get to address what's going on inside of here. Because this happens every day at every venue. Okay? Be it within your house, in your family, at your kids at school, even in law enforcement. Okay? As a police psychologist in my private practice, I primarily treat law enforcement personnel. After a critical incident or the cumulative stresses of the job, dealing with the administration, the policy procedures, or with the people on the street. Again, this is just another reference to as people start to escalate. Listening to them become agitated, become disruptive. Or you're still not listening to me? I'm going to start tearing things up, becoming disruptive. You're still not listening to me? Well, okay, fine, I'm going to get dangerous. People don't just bend. We can see the escalation. On the other side, as we see them de-escalating, as I'm negotiating with them, okay, I'm hearing them say, well, you know, I see what you're saying, or okay. And finally, they're back down to a balance, and they'll surrender, or we'll find a way out of the problem.
Dr. Gardner, so when do you, back up one slide, so when do you engage the police? When do you engage public safety? This is a good slide for it. When do you engage? That's the question that we get often. You know, that's the question. And everybody in this room is a risk manager. Your managers at work, at home, and that's the big key. That is the huge question. When do you engage public safety? And there's not one right answer. There's not one right answer. But I can tell you this. When we get these calls, okay, when the call is slowed down 3, 5, 8 minutes, and there's a suspicious person out there, and the employees are all talking to one another, and nobody presses the button to get their first responders there, get the police there, so we can help validate these things that you've seen. That's important. The men and women in uniform, okay, are trained in conflict resolution, okay? We will go there, we can get ID, okay? We can find out who they are so we can help gauge that risk. And that's critical. It's a critical part of the response and the solution. You are.
I like to be called or have law enforcement respond when a person's between agitated and disruptive. Okay? I don't mind a false negative. Okay, false negative means I get called out there, it's not a threat. I'd much rather deal with a false negative than a false positive where you say, there's no threat, and the person comes out and turns around and does some destructive things. I'm going to breeze through this. Basically, what mostly likely happens in a workplace violence scenario, the person perceives their problems are unsolvable. That's the perception. Moves on, they blame other people, the employee, supervisor, or the business itself. Those are the thoughts. Self-protection, self-preservation, revenge becomes their sole objective. That's the impulse. And then the violent act is engaged in, the action. With any one of those situations, we can intervene. But we're looking for signs of depression, anxiety, stress. Again, they don't have to be bipolar. They don't have to be schizophrenic. They don't have to be depressed, suicidal. Okay, this could be any one of us going into an emotional upheaval. Okay, and we're looking for someone to help de-escalate that before it gets critical. So, listening to that person vent, allowing them to vent, provide reality testing, let them know they're not alone in this process. If it keeps on going, well, what are your plans? What do you plan on doing? Help them identify response options, okay, so they don't have to go towards violence. And if it goes towards violence, notify the police. Just in response after the fact, what do I see in people who've been victimized, including law enforcement personnel in shootings? While it's happening, the muscle tremors, the nausea, the faintness, the sweating, the slow motion time, the auditory exclusion, tunnel vision. Within minutes to hours afterwards, shock, fear, denial, anger, numbing, feeling of unreality. Within days to weeks. These are normal and expected. Grief, intrusive thoughts, this incident playing over and over in your head like a broken record. Flashbacks, nightmares, other sleep disturbances. Okay? And guilt, paranoia, and some somatic issues. We want to make sure that this is addressed so it doesn't become chronic, doesn't last 3-4 months. So first rule, and this has been addressed already, first rule of gunfire from the run, hide, fight, get out of the kill zone. Don't try and negotiate or try and make contact with the perpetrator. That's the police responsibility. Concealment, etc. is good, even if you have to play dead. But better yet, attack. Attacking is going to save lives if you're backed into a corner. Keep your head. Other people are going to depend on you, and they'll follow your lead if you're the supervisor, business owner, etc. And finally, William Wadsworth says, in our own self, our safety must be sought. By our own hands, it must be wrought. There's, again, as was said, a 7-minute delay for the police to get to and SWAT team to get to most situations. In that time, or even before that time, you've got to be responsible for your safety, the safety of your customers, that of your peers, and yourself. Trust your instincts and training like this to help you. Take preventative or direct action against anyone in all forms of violence.
And that's the message that we want you to leave with today. This is a very involved topic, and we wish we had more time. Hopefully we can do it again in the future and provide Dr. Gardner some more time. I know we kind of rushed through it. It's very involved, but that's the whole key here. Get us engaged. Don't hesitate. We will prioritize what we have going. We will prioritize, get your whole team, public safety, EMS, fire, SWAT, okay? We, in our township, we're going to get patrol cars, our instant responders there within seconds, okay? They're going to follow up with 3 or 4 cars, okay? If we have a major incident, they're going to be coming from all over the place, okay? Oakland, Addison, Oxford, Rochester Hills. But the whole key is to press the button and engage us and get us going. We can always slow it down, we can enhance it, but the key is to get us going. So we're, what we want to do, I know some folks have to have a busy day, they have to continue on here, but we have Fire Chief Smith, Dr. Gardner, Lieutenant Perry's here, Steve from Homeland Security, myself. We'll be glad to answer some questions afterwards, but I know it's a long time to sit in one spot, so we appreciate you coming out, Elena.